Shubh Ramnami also. Today is a auspicious day, so uh, that's why I thought that should talk about prayers also. I'm sure you all pray every day, twice a day. That's what the tradition is in Hindu families. Morning and evening, Sandhya. Okay. Somebody asked Swami Vivekananda, what do you gain by prayers? And he gave the best answer. He said, I gained nothing. In fact, I lost anger, depression, jealousy, irritation, insecurity. Right? We lose the negativity when we connect with the positivity. Prayers. Prayer is talking directly to God. And the great mystics, they are in a state of perpetual prayer. To these people, God is more real than the external world. But other people, they pray to God, they accept God's existence, and they have faith in it. Whenever there's a moment of emotional upheaval, it could be due to success or it could be due to failure or apprehension. Something gets stirred up in the heart of a man. And that is the time, if there's a faith in a greater being or power, you can connect to, the prayer follows. So prayer is the deepest impulse of the soul of a human being. It is not dependent on calculated reasoning. Reasoning is an afterthought to prayer. People often ask whether there's any necessity for prayer. Because some people argue, they say if there's no God, there's no use of praying to Him. And even if He is there, can He change the laws of nature or the law of karma? So, with the advancement of science, the growth of secularization, a lot of people, they have lost this unquestioning faith in an almighty God and for the necessity of praying to Him. Certainly, it is difficult to provide proof in favor of the existence of God, which is immediately verifiable and tangible to grosser minds. But several points may be noted which amply show the efficacy of prayer. The most empirical argument in favor of prayer is that it relieves the mind of tensions, which is very natural part of our life, today's life, in a hurry and worry. It neutralizes mental repression and purifies the subconscious. It releases an extra amount of hope and energy. It helps a human being to face life squarely. Because we all know life is not all sweetness, enjoyment, and success. There's a part of life which has drudgery, pain, and failure too. And more than this suffering itself, worry and apprehension about all that eats into the vitals of a human being. And even any opportunity for enjoying the life, underneath that enjoyment, there's always anxiety. So prayer frees a human being from anxiety and sustains him in moments of suffering. Prayer frees a person from tension by unburdening his mind, putting faith in God's power. And that's how the suffering is removed. So there are so many psychological benefits which are quite evident. And the test of this truth is that it is universal. There are thousands of people throughout the world and down the ages who have received help from prayers. Mystics and saints, they have achieved illumination also through prayers. That's why they very strongly advocate it for people like us. So this itself is a proof of prayer's validity. Prayer also helps us keep up our spirits in an otherwise hopeless situation. In many cases, prayer is answered objectively, but there's always a subjective response in the heart of devotee. Prayer has a very corrective power also, capacity to transform a person's character. A thief can be transformed into a saint with the help of prayer. But prayer presupposes faith. So that means prayer is an exercise of faith. Because the heart of a person longs for sanctuary. Heart needs that satisfaction for this abiding home. Because soul knows about the omnipotence of God and longs for God's help. For this, Shraddha is needed, the faith. So that's why I said prayer is an exercise of faith. Intense faith in God and intense faith in yourself. It is a common experience that a person who have moved the world or a particular society had tremendous faith. Even the most ordinary person gains much strength when he is imbued with the strong faith. We are told that God is the source of energy. Whoever attunes his mind to him has direct access to that source. So it's like a connecting. Prayer connects us with that source. The person who connects with this kind of a source gains the optimism and enthusiasm. And even when somebody else comes in contact with this person, he in turn absorbs these qualities too. This is how men have become saints. But if our faith is not great enough, we may take spiritual truths on trust at the outset. and make our own experiment. If prayer is practiced with sincerity, fervor, and regularity, person will surely get ample proof of its efficacy. And this will encourage him to further efforts and deeper faith. So the function of prayer is to create a mental condition which frees the mind from the dead weight of this worldly life. Prayer helps us to soar high to discover subtle and lofty truths. So sincerity is an essential condition for proper prayer. So in other words, mind and speech, okay, or your mind and your actions, they should be in harmony. If mind is somewhere else, mind says, no, it's not going to work. No matter what we are saying, it doesn't have that power. Prayer is also a companion to humility. So in the heart of our hearts, we do long to surrender and take shelter under somebody. So that's why humility has to be part of the personality. Recognition of the higher power, who is full of grace and sympathy, will bring out a humility and surrender. So that's all part of the prayers. So we can unburden ourselves to him. This unburdening has the tremendous psychological benefit of freeing us from the pressures of life. They say the man accepts faith by nature and reason by cultivation. That's why little children, we had to teach them the reasoning. But faith, they have faith in their mother, faith in the father, and then ultimately faith in God also. So faith, when we do prayers with the faith, and afterwards the reason must be cultivated. So that's why they say that when we study something, sure use the reasoning, but when we pray, just have a faith. So prayer is not in conflict with the reason. Reason can help prayer by clarifying its objectives. And reasons can direct it beyond lesser aims. That's where we use the reasoning power. What is the ultimate goal of life? Why I'm here? That's where we use the reasoning. So the question of whether God can cancel our fate or change the course of the world. In this scientific age, this is a very fundamental question in many people's mind. Law of karma, can it be changed? Are prayers capable of changing these laws? So it's like a tussle between, it's like an age-old tussle between grace and the law of karma. Grace and the karma, the actions. According to Hinduism, the law of karma, the cause and effect, which is called, is a valid law. But God is conceived as the bestower of the fruits of actions. Karmanya eva dhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachan. As human beings, we have the right to do the action. The fruit is given by God. So if he so desires, he may compress the results of actions into a shorter span of time. The devotional schools of Hinduism regard God as the master of all situations. And while grace sits in his heart, his hand goes out to render justice. So it's like both are in his hands. God is the master. So communicating our wants and begging are necessary devices, part of the prayer, act of prayer. That's how we perform. We say, God, I cannot do it myself. Please help me. So prayer is worship and petition. It is meaningless if petitions are not answered. But how are they answered? That's what we have to look at. They are answered by some wider and deeper interresponsiveness of people to one another. So God accomplishes it to answer the prayers to that predisposition of personality. That is the act of prayer. Haven't you heard that somebody came in my life, acted like God? God appeared. So sometimes that's how it's answered. So prayer transforms our wants in such a way that they can be fulfilled, and it creates responsiveness in other persons to fulfill them. Swami Vivekananda explained that in his own words. He said, it is our own will that answers prayers. Our own will. Because the soul has infinite powers. The soul is part of God, has infinite powers. By prayer, one's subtle powers are easily aroused. There are some rationalistic minds. They are too tired of hearing of the weakness of a person to pray. There is, for these kind of a people, there is a rational philosophical explanation of the efficacy of prayer. According to Vedas, prayer's efficacy lies in helping us forget the embodied condition and become attuned to a higher reality. That means detachment from the lower and attachment to the higher. And prayers helps us to do that. So a purified mind, and when a person is busy in spiritual disciplines, and when the prayer is done methodical, regular, fervent, it disciplines that kind of a mind. And it helps the mind achieve this higher realization. So this is another benefit of the prayer. So not for the worldly things, but for the higher realization. As the mind is freed from selfish ideas, nobler thoughts are filled up in that vacuum. According to the Vedas, truth is a matter of personal experience, a fact of internal revelation, which can be achieved by everybody. And prayers help us do that. So Vedas do value prayers for this subjective efficacy. That means you will know who you are with the help of the prayers. So it does not advocate prayer arising from a weakness or for a calculated gratitude, but it emphasizes prayer as a method of cleaning the mind. Because you are putting something in with the prayers, you are saying the words, you are thinking about the purity, then impurity dries out or it washes away. Okay? And it definitely suppresses, when you are doing it in humility, it suppresses your egotism. When you are searching out your hidden desires, come out and you renounce them. And these desires are the worldly desires. You say, why do I need to even think about that? When that Almighty is available to me, I would rather connect with that. So a follower of Vedas, they use prayer as a step to knowledge. Okay, so it's like to become, to reach to that higher existence. So religion is the realization of truth, and prayer helps us in that realization. Prayer by its very nature is private. A soul speaking to soul, higher soul. Atma speaking to Paramatma. But sometimes people of similar religion, they have a similar attitude. They naturally gather together and they pray in groups also. Group prayer is not an aggregate, but a symphony. That's what group prayer is. There are three kinds of prayers mentioned in various scriptures in the world. The first is called petitionary prayer. It's the most common. Ordinary people do that. Whenever they are tossed with the difficulties by numerous desires, they pray for a relief from troubles, and definitely they get some advantage. Bhagavad Gita recognizes that, and Lord Krishna called this kind of a prayer Artha prayer. Artha, that's where this Arti word has come. Artha. Okay, you are distressed, and you can go to your Creator and talk about your difficulties. So turn to God in distress as one type of devotee. And subjective result is in the generation of hope, confidence, and enthusiasm. And those are not less achievements. We feel that we can handle it. And the second kind of a prayer is intercessory prayer. So first is petitionary prayer, second is intercessory. Prayer not for yourself, but for others. This is more unselfish in motive. Advanced souls, they have the power to redress the sufferings of others through prayers and through their strong and purified will. That's why we ask our Guru, ask saintly people, can you pray for us? Okay. And the third kind of a prayer is called contemplation, where a devotee surrenders his self-interest and that takes the attitude of thy will be done. No desire, whatever happens, it's okay with me. So devotee who desires nothing in life but God. So that means desires God, because mind is still there. Mind has the desires, but in the mind only one, you have the desire to get God. This kind of a devotee finds it natural to pray like this, contemplation. When this attitude matures, the devotee fully surrenders himself to God and becomes his instrument. And in this case, the prayer becomes continuous. His life itself becomes a continuous prayer. Whatever he does becomes an offering to God. So though this is the purest form of prayer, the previous two are not without merit. So petitionary Definitely, we need that. Intercessory also. We live in the society, in the family, with our friends. There are times when we feel other people's pain. And it's good to pray. But majority of the time, we should increase for this third kind of prayer, where through our prayers, we want only God, nothing else. Our conduct should be improved if we think that we have a faith and we have love for God. Our character should be improved. Mind should be purified. Only then we can practice this highest form of prayer. This highest form of prayer has rightly been described as a form of yoga, a path to realization. It's like a union between Atma and Paramatma, the soul and the super soul. Complete resignation to God is ideal prayer. So faith is a recognition of a higher power and its loving kindness. Prayer is a resignation to that power and utter abandonment to its will. So the higher power is intensely personal to a devotee. My God, personal relationship. The more his conviction, the greater is the fervor, and the more complete is the surrender. That's where the devotee lets go of the ego completely and says, not my will, but thy will be done. Because in the lower forms, we are asking God. Over here, we have completely surrendered. Not I, but thou. In this total giving up of the self, there's no petitioning, no bargaining. It is one prolonged extinction of self-interest. The Vedic Shanti mantras are a form of prayer. Astoma Satgamya. Let my mind turn to the good. That's a prayer. Or let my will not go against thy will. They are repeated to drive home to the mind the basic ideas. By regular meditation on them, these prayers, these mantras, the mind is soaked with these thoughts. So prayer, benefit of prayer is it clarifies the ideas, strengthens the will, concentrates the mind, and purifies it. That's why before any Upanishadic study, before our classes, what do? We purify our mind so that our mind is not a scattered mind, it's a well concentrated mind. So whatever brings these results, whether it's a clarity of the mind or strengthening of our sankalp shakti or concentration, these results are out of the prayers. Because the real power is coming from God. So seeking God or making the higher truths our own is itself a true prayer. That's a prayer. Repeating the divine name, a spiritual discipline in its own right, is also a form of prayer. A devotee prays aloud to God in the beginning. Okay? Ram Ram Bol. But as his mind is concentrated, he becomes silent. Ram Ram Rat. Then becomes Ram Ram Ram. So devotee prays aloud to God in the beginning, but as his mind is concentrated, he becomes silent. Then the truth of the higher self becomes apparent to him. He finds God dwelling in his heart. And he longs to see him. It's also almost like a mind is divided in two halves, the praying self and the self to which he prays. So the intense yearning of the lower self to realize the higher is prayer. This is also called upasana, approaching God. So for ordinary aspirants, prayer must be coupled with other efforts. Prayer and effort must be combined. Prayer is not wishful thinking. It calls up the latent powers in us and gives us the strength and overcomes lethargy and other obstacles. It's a very power in there, power of prayer. It does this in a very unobtrusive way. Just like its letharginess just flows out. Because when you know in the morning, I got to get up, go into my temple and pray, you cannot be lethargic. So it's just like you make that conviction and you do it. Jealousy goes away because with the help of the prayers, you see the oneness. The God in me is no different than God in you. There's no difference in this form of a God or that form of a God. God is only one. Jealousy goes away, egotism goes away. And mind, of course, becomes more and more clean. All kinds of resistance to spiritual life is very silently conquered with the help of prayers. You don't have to make much effort. So prayer purifies the mind and it helps us to assimilate of all the ideals. Prayer also enhances familial and social harmony. People who pray together, they stay together. There should be a prayer time in every household, whether it's a daily or a weekly. Pray together. That's how we teach the next generation. By affecting personal integrity, it preserves the social solidarity. We are social beings. When we have the same objective, then there is a solidity in our relationships. By invoking the best in a human being, it works for a higher culture and a nobler civilization. Prayers do that. So we got to remember, prayer is for purifying our mind, cleansing our social relations, improving the quality of our life. Because Vedas tell us that these 5 elements, they are devatas. Take care of this environment. That is part of the prayers. Or there are devatas in this body also, all our senses. Keep them clean. Because whatever we absorb through the senses, it goes into the mind. And mind is the one which is a very powerful devata. Offer good to the devata. Only then there will be harmony within and harmony without. And only then we can attain this higher goal in life. So that's why there's so many benefits of prayers. It should be It's definitely an invocation or act at the individual level, as a group level. So we can do it in public, together in the temples, in the churches, it's happening. But at home, we should definitely do it in private also. It may involve the use of words in any language. It could be English, it could be Sanskrit, it could be any other language. There are thousands of languages, any language. It could be a song. It could be your own personal words. It could be a hymn, incantation, or a very formal creed, or even a spontaneous utterance, because you are talking to God. Spontaneously, whatever comes to you, talk to God. So there are numerous benefits. Instead of questioning the efficacy, if you start praying regularly, you will feel it, you will see it. Some ritualize the act of prayer. They say that there should be a strict requirement of the sequence of actions, or the place, or the direction. But then Vedas, they teach us, sure, in the beginning, if you want to follow that, that's fine. But ultimately, spontaneously, pray all the time, no matter which direction you are standing, whether you are lying down or whether you are sitting up or walking. But initially, you got to train yourself. So all those rules were for the training. But once we have been trained, we can pray all the time. So loud prayers, then silent prayers. So there are a lot of physical health benefits, mental health benefits, societal health benefits, family benefits. So all we see is benefit and benefit from the prayers. But we have to do it ourselves though. It's like a good food is there. If I eat it, I'll get the benefit. The same way the prayers also. Got to make it a part of our daily life. Daily life. Okay? So I'll stop talking now. If anybody has a question or a comment, let's go through a little. Interaction is a very important part of our class over here. So, yes, Jyoti.
Sujata.
Namaste, Hershji.
Namaste, namaste, Sujata.
Very nice class as always. I just had an observation. It seems like prayer should be a prelude to meditation.
Yeah, it could
Sometimes
be.
when you pray, I mean, you pray and you petition and you intercede, and then you surrender. In the same way, when you meditate, you surrender to that one thing that you're meditating on. I mean,
Yeah.
So if
Yeah,
you begin
definitely.
with the prayer, it might help you to put down all your other roles.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, people should understand that meditation is where we are not talking. In
Right.
prayer, we are talking.
Yeah.
So that's what Sujata is saying, that prayer, first we talk to God, then we sit back and wait to listen to God. Quieten your mind at that time. Okay. So if somebody can do it in one sitting, that's good. But if you want to break it down in two, that's fine too. Whatever is works for you. But we should do both. Pray also, meditate also.
I mean, I didn't think of it that way, but I've noticed that in my meditation, initially you have all these things crowding into your mind, and
Yeah, prayer calms you down. Yeah,
and you
definitely.
put them down, and so in a way you say, God, take care of these
Yeah,
things.
yeah. It could be that way, or it could be just meditate first. In the morning, if you start praying, mind just becomes too active. So morning time, to me, I think it's more practical if you meditate first and then pray. In the evening, you can pray first and then meditate and then sleep. Okay? I mean, you can always, Play around and see which works for you. But in the morning, because it's very easy to meditate right away. But if you get ready to pray, you will go to the bathroom, wash your hands, do this, do that. And then by the time you come to the mandir, you clean the mandir, you make the jyot. So because prayer involves all that. So it's good to just go there and meditate. Then do the rituals. Okay. So for me, that works. So everybody could be different.
But what you're saying is that for an individual, no ritual is required, right?
Yeah. But rituals,
family, you do rituals. I mean,
personally, also, I personally like to do rituals also. I like to, in my mandir, I like to clean. I like to light the lamp. I like to put the flowers. To me, I think those rituals are part of prayers and as well as meditation. Because when the hands are busy, the mind becomes calm and it gets connected. So if somebody doesn't need it at all, that's fine. So that's why there is so much freedom. There's no strictness that you got to do this way. No. Prayers can be done sitting on the floor or on a cushion or on a chair. You can do it any which way you want to. Okay? So that's why whether you want to do Gayatri Mantra or you want to do some other mantras. Okay? But you are speaking to God in prayers. Okay?
Thank you.
Yes, Jyoti.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
With Sujata's query, I had this also in my mind. What about deep breathing exercise? Deep breathing exercise before the prayer, before meditation. Does it help?
Okay, yeah. Yeah, because mind is connected to the breathing also, the prana. So if that's what you needed, you do that. Yes, definitely. You can do the breathing exercise, but at that time, remember the breathing exercise is not for the body.
Yes.
It's breathing exercises so that you can concentrate your mind. You can bring your scattered mind into the focus. That is the purpose. Okay. So yeah, you can help use all these tools, but the idea is to connect with the higher. Connect with the higher. Okay. Yes.
Thank
Yes,
you,
Jyoti.
Guruji. Namaskar, Guruji.
Namaskar. Yes, Jyoti.
Neetu?
My thoughts were, Hershey, I don't know when and how suddenly these things shift in your mind is astonishing to me, because every day I have a different thought. I go to God with it. Some awareness comes up and then I go and say, God, this is what is, I don't like seeing my ego acting up this way. So I think my prayer started long back, but I think now awareness is all I see, and I go and I just do more of meditation than just talking, because that's where my mind is talking to God about cleansing me completely. This is how I see myself now.
Yeah, that's fine. That's why I said that there are stages to the prayers. That's the reason. There's nothing wrong in the first stage either, where we are asking. But ultimately, yeah, more and more silence is there, where you just want to be near God, one with God. So
that's
prayer,
where in this silence is where now
silence.
mind is yearning for those things that you explain. Like, I don't want nothing. I just want the purity, the harmony, the peace within and without, no conflict. I think those are the things I feel when in the silence my mind is asking for, rather than.
That shows the progress in your prayers. So just enjoy that. But always remember, we are in this, living in this Maya. So we have to be very alert. That's why regularity is very important. You don't want to become careless about it. Okay, just keep on doing it, keep on doing it. But we see that connection, then we know how does it feel, and we are longing for it again and again. We are looking connection further and further. So which is really good. So enjoy that, and this is the aim of life. Okay.
But the evening is where I don't have more concentrated mind.
Yeah, because the mind has gone through so much during the daytime. So that's why early in the morning do it, and then last thing at night also. Try doing it, and then you will see that you'll have a better sleep at night. Okay. So twice, they say 2 sandhyas. Okay. Yes, Jyoti.
I think we're good.
We are good. Okay. I think today, do we have Rita Chawla?
Yes, I'm here, Hershey.
Yes, Rita. So if you can sing a bhajan for us, and then maybe after the bhajan, if somebody wants to ask questions or give us their input,